Should parents check their teen's phone? That is the big question, and that's what I'm going to discuss in this video. A couple of weeks ago, I did a poll on LinkedIn where I asked people the same question. Roughly 400 people took part in the poll. About 60% said, absolutely yes, you should check your teen's phone. About 30% said, absolutely not, you should never do that. And about 10% were in the other category. Lots of emotionally loaded comments. It's a very complex issue. Several people asked me to weigh in and share any additional insights or feedback. So this is what this video is about. For the people who were in favor of checking their teen's phone, it was really about protecting their teen from any danger that's out there online, from cyberbullying, from sexual predators, from accessing information that your teen may not be developmentally or emotionally ready to access, feeling that the risk was just too great to take. And for those who were against checking, the arguments were about trusting your child and modeling trust, building the relationship, a strong relationship based on trust and based on accountability, really empowering your teen to become independent and know what to do on their own without invading their privacy and whatnot. So there are lots of great arguments on both sides. And it's one of those topics where you read all the arguments pro and con, and every time you think, yeah, that's a really good argument, and you read the counter argument and you think, yeah, that's a really good argument too. So it's clearly a difficult topic. First thing I want to say is that I cannot tell you which way to go, because it's really a decision that needs to be made for each family. Each family has a unique culture that is based on your values, on your beliefs, on your background. And it's also based on your teen, their abilities, and your concerns about them, if you have any. So my goal in this video is to help you make a decision and to give you additional thoughts and ideas to look at, and different perspectives, so that it will be easier for you to decide what is right for your teen and what is right for your family. So whenever we have an either or type of situation, should I do A or should I do B? Often the answer is somewhere in the middle. This is not to say that picking one or the other is not a good idea, but I want to try to broaden your perspective so that you can make the best possible decision for your family. So really we have those two priorities. One is to protect your child, and the other one is to teach them and empower them with skills that will allow them to be independent, to be safe, and to take care of themselves. We really want both, and there is no reason why we can't have both. So my encouragement is to look at the big picture and to really assess everything that is important to you in this situation. So some of the components that I often work on with my clients is to look at your beliefs and your values. What are your top priorities in this context? What is really, really important to you? Another piece of the equation is to really take a hard look at your teen's abilities. I work with a lot of neurodivergent families, parents and kids and teenagers. And some of my teenage clients are very capable of managing the boundaries of online communication, and others are not, or not yet. So really taking a hard look at your teen's abilities and, looking at things like, how do they communicate? If they were concerned about something or uncomfortable with an interaction online, would they be able to reach out for help? Would they be able to come up to you and talk to you about it? How do they do with navigating social, emotional type of situations? Are they more on the shy side? Are they more withdrawn? Are they easily influenced by others, kids and adults? Or are they more confident and assertive and able to push back if someone asks them to do something they don't feel like doing? How accountable are they in general, in not just about the phones, but anything else in their daily life? How do they need a lot of reminders? Do they break the rules? Do they have a history of breaking the rules? Do you feel like you usually trust them to do whatever it is that they say they're going to do. And then another big piece of the equation is to really tune into your gut feeling about your teen's vulnerability and their ability to take care of themselves. There's no one who knows your teen better than you as the parent. You may look at all the parenting books and advice and whatnot, and deep inside, you know that your child will be able to take care of themselves, will be able to ask for help, or are you really worried because you've seen patterns over and over that they're really vulnerable and they might not be able to protect themselves? So once you've reflected a bit on your beliefs, on your values, your top priorities, your teens' abilities, and your gut feeling, my encouragement is to start looking at those two categories of how you're going to protect your teen if you feel that you need to provide a level of protection, and how you're going to teach them and empower them with information that will allow them to gradually become more independent and capable of handling possibly difficult situations. So if you decide that you do need to provide some level of protection to your teen, one thing that I believe is extremely important is to be transparent. I would never, ever advise to go behind your teen's back. Sooner or later, they will probably find out. And it can be extremely damaging to the relationship. It can be extremely damaging to the trust. It may really alienate them. And so it's not a matter of, is it your right? It is absolutely your right to do it. But is it the best thing to do for the sake of the relationship with your teen and their own mental health? So how can you provide a level of protection without compromising the trust? So it's really a matter of looking at your expectations. So coming up with very clear expectations. How are you going to check on your teen's phone if it's something that you feel very strongly about? Is it something that you're going to do every day? Are you going to do it once a week, once a month? Or are you going to do it only if you have concerns? If there's a change of behavior or different friends in their life, or now they're staying up all night on their phone and something just doesn't feel right. So first is to really clarify how often you're going to do this. And then also, what are you going to check? Are you going to check all of their messaging apps? Are you going to check what they post on different platforms? Are you going to check their viewing history? So just become really clear with that. Ask yourself those questions, and then be transparent about it. Approach your teen, share with them your concern, why you want to do this, and come up with a plan that you're going to present to them. And you'll probably get pushback. That's part of what teens do, and that's also how they learn to separate themselves from their parents, by having different opinions and different ideas. But that's okay. Some parents may decide on setting up a phone contract with their teen, where all the expectations are outlined clearly. And if you go with the direction of having some kind of contract, good idea is to involve your teen in any possible way in the contract. The more you can involve them in the decision-making process and the planning of it, the more buy-in you're going to get, even if it's minimal, even if it's just for a couple of small things. But it's, as much as possible, try to involve them. So once you've decided to, on a plan on how to protect them, if you feel that you do need to check on their phone, there's still the need to empower them with information, empower them with skills that they will gradually use or develop to protect themselves and learn how to navigate online possible dangers. So how do we do that? The way I look at this part is that you gradually want to transfer your share of responsibility onto them. So at first, if you feel that they're not fully capable of protecting themselves and need some support in that, how are you going to gradually transfer that responsibility onto them, so that there's not a situation where until they're 18 and still live with you, you do all of the protecting and checking, and the day they turn 18, they're on their own and they still haven't learned really how to protect themselves. So how can you, you know, help them? How can you guide them through this process? So some elements to consider is to have lots of conversations about trust and about accountability, what that means to you, what that means to them, how you're going to measure that, how you're going to determine that you are trusting them, you can trust them, and what, you know, what do you expect for them to, or how do you expect them to be accountable, and having lots of conversations. So we don't want to approach this with the talk. We want to have lots of conversations, lots of, you know, and we don't want it to be a TED talk. We want it to be, you know, we want to sprinkle it here and there whenever is the right time. You want to pick a time where they're not, where neither of you is rushed or irritated or find the right moment to do that. Maybe family meetings. You want to have lots of conversations about educating them about the risks. They most likely have heard of all those risks, but they may not have an accurate picture of what is happening or how it can happen. How will they recognize some potential danger? What would be some of the red flags for you, and what would be some of the red flags for them? So having those types of discussions could go a long way in slowly helping them be more responsible and more aware of what's going on. So by now, you may actually have a lot more questions than answers, which is good because I want you to reflect on this. This is a very difficult topic for many parents, for most parents. My encouragement is to not rush into it and really look at all the different components that are involved. So I hope this will give you some food for thought. I hope it will help. Love to hear your comments about this. So please drop a comment and a question, and I'm happy to answer them.